Krishna, dear devotees, hope that everybody. Hare Krishna. Again. This Hare Krishna, Pranam, your voice is breaking. Okay, voice is breaking. You are login? Yeah, okay.
We cannot see you also.
Oh, you cannot see me also?
Yeah.
How come? Mataji, are you able to hear me? See me?
Yes. Your bandwidth is low, it's showing. Bandwidth is low.
Keep your mobile also. Now is this okay?
Echo हो रहा है प्रभु echo.
Yes. Is this okay? Is this better?
Yes, Prabhuji. Now
Yes,
better.
Prabhu, it's better now.
Sixth chapter today, right? ओमज्ञान्तिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानञ्जनाशलाकया चक्षुरोन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरुं पदकमलम् श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं साधनरघुनाथं वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपदान् सगणललिता श्रीशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोस्तुते तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी काले वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरि। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानन्द श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौरभक्तवृन्द हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. So welcome all the devotees. So today will recite verses, 17 verses from chapter 6, chapter entitled Dhyan Yoga. Please repeat after me. Yes.
We didn't complete the chapter 5th. 50 previous time. We did not complete the chapter.
Chapter is not completed?
No.
How many verses were completed then?
13 verses. Prabhuji.
Till
13. Last time
14, Prabhuji.
13 or 14. Yes.
1/4.
Yes, 1/4.
Oh, really? But I only completed 14th verse.
Prabhuji repeat the same verses in the last class.
Oh, why? I told him to cover from 14, 15 till end.
The class started late now, so he was revising,
Oh.
but that many verses covered only.
Oh, is it? Okay. I was planning to complete cover 16 chapter today. Let's do one thing. We will do the initial 17 verses of 6th chapter, and next time we'll cover the remaining verses of chapter 5. Does
No,
not matter.
Prabhuji. No, Prabhuji. Please complete it. Please complete 5th chapter only.
Yes,
Please complete 5th chapter only, Prabhuji.
I will complete 5th chapter. Don't worry. I'll complete 5th chapter. This time we will cover 6th chapter. 6th chapter will start. We'll cover first 15 verses. It does not matter. Okay?
Okay.
Does not matter. So please repeat after me the 16th, 6th chapter, first shlok. Shri Bhagwan Vacha Anashrita Karma Phalam Karyam Karma Karoti Yaha Sasanyati Cha Yogi Cha Na Niragri Na Chakriyaha Yah Sanyasam Putraho Yogam tam vidhi pandava Nahi asanyasta sankalpo Yogi bhavati kaschana Aruruksho muner yogam Karma karanam uchyate Yogarudascha tasyaiva Tamah karanam uchyate Yada hi naindriyartheshu na karmasu anusajyate sarva sankalpa sannyasi yogarudastadushyate dharedatmanatmanam atman नात्मानम् अवसाधये आत्मैव हि आत्मनो बन्धो आत्मैव रिपुरात्मनः बन्धुरात्मनस्तस्य येनात्मैनात्मना जितः आत्मनास्तु शत्रुत्वे वर्तेतैत्मैव शत्रुवत् चित्तात्मनः प्रशान्तस्य परमात्मा समाहितः शीतोष्णसुखदुःखेषु तथा मानपमानयो ज्ञान विज्ञान तृप्तात्मा कूटस्थो विजितेन्द्रियः युक्त इति उच्यते योगी समगोष्ठास्मकाञ्चन सुहृन् मित्रादिदासीन मध्यस्थद्वेषबन्धुषु साधुष्वपि च पापेषु समबुद्धिर्विशिष्यते योगी युञ्जित सततम् आत्मानं रहसि स्थितः एकाकी यतचित्तात्मा निराशी अपरिग्रह शुचो देशे प्रतिस्थाप्य धीरमासनमात्मनः नात्युच्चरितं नातिनीचं चौलाञ्जिन कुशोत्तरम् तत्रैकाग्रं मनः कृत्वा यतचित्तेन्द्रियक्रियः उपविश्यासने युञ्जया योगमात्मविशुद्धये समं काय शिरो ग्रीवम् धारयन्नचलं स्थिरः सम्प्रेक्ष्य नासिकाग्रं स्वम् दिशश्चानवलोकयन् प्रशान्तात्मा विगतभिः ब्रह्मचारीवते स्थितः मनः संयम मनः चित्तो युक्त आसीत् मत्परः युञ्जन् एवं सदात्मानं योगी निगतमना मानसः शान्तिं निर्वाणं परमां मत्संस्थामादिगच्छति नाति अश्नतस्तु योगस्ति न चैकान्तम् अनश्नतः न चाति स्वप्नशीलस्य जाग्रतो नैव चार्जुन युक्ताहारविहारस्य युक्तचेतस्य कर्मसु युक्तस्वप्नावबोधस्य योगो भवति दुःखः यदा विनियतं चित्तम् आत्मन्येवावतिष्ठते निःस्पृहः सर्वकामेभ्यो युक्त इति उच्यते तदा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा श्री भगवान उवाच अनाश्रित कर्म फलम कार्यं कर्म करोति यः स सन्यासी च योगी च न निराग्निर्न च क्रियः. Translation: The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, one who is unattached to the fruits of his work and who works as he is obligated is in the renounced order of life, and he is the true mystic, not he who lights no fire and performs no duty. Purport: In this chapter, the Lord explains that the process of the Eightfold Yoga system is the means to control the mind and the senses. So this chapter, as it is entitled Dhyan Yoga, in that Eightfold Yoga system, starting from Yam, Niyam, Atman, Pranayam, Dharna, Dhyan, Samadhi, is mentioned. So this chapter, it explains the process of Eightfold Yoga system, mystic yoga system, and the purpose Prabhupada mentioned here is the means to control the mind and the senses. However, this is very difficult for the people in general to perform, especially in the age of Kali. Why it is difficult to perform in the age of Kali? Because we have to leave the home. We have to go to the secluded places where there is no disturbance, no distractions. So it's not recommended and it's very difficult to perform, especially in the age of Kali. Although the Eightfold Yoga system is recommended in this chapter, the Lord emphasizes that the process of Karma Yoga or acting in Krishna consciousness is better. Everyone acts in this world to maintain his family and their paraphernalia, but no one is working without some self-interest, some personal gratification, be it concentrated or extended. What it means to be concentrated means for oneself. Extended means for one's own family. The criteria of perfection is to act in the Krishna consciousness and not with a view to enjoying the fruits of the world. To act in Krishna consciousness is the duty of every living entity because all are constitutionally part and parcels of the Supreme. The parts of the body work for the satisfaction of the whole body. The limbs of the body do not act for the self-satisfaction, but for the satisfaction of the complete whole. Similarly, the living entity who acts for the satisfaction of supreme whole and not for the personal satisfaction is the perfect sannyasi, the perfect yogi. The sannyasi sometimes artificially thinks that they have become liberated from all material duties and therefore they cease to perform Agnihotri, Agnihotra Yajnas, that is fire sacrifices. But actually they are self-interested because their goal is to become one with the impersonal Brahman. The Prabhupada here is talking about the sannyasis. With sannyasis, previously it is told that one who works for the satisfaction of the supreme whole is a perfect sannyas. So that is the actual sannyas. But the term sannyasi, which is used in conventional, is applicable to those people who have taken to the sannyas ashram and whose goal is impersonal Brahman. Right? So this sannyasis sometimes artificially think that they have become liberated from all material duties and therefore they cease to perform Agnihotra sacrifice. But actually they are self-interested because their goal is to become one with the impersonal Brahman. Such a desire is greater than any material desire, but it's not without self-interest. So this is pertaining to the sannyasi whose goal is impersonal Brahman, and they are on the path of Jnana Yoga. So in Jnana Yoga, they are after knowledge. Which kind of knowledge? Impersonal Brahman. So a Jnana Yogi is not somebody who is taking knowledge of MBBS, engineering, or anything. But a Jnana Yogi is the one who is situated in the knowledge of impersonal Brahman. And what is the desire? To merge in the person. So that is also one of the desire. So Prabhupada is telling that their desire is greater than any material desire. Right? Because they are also aiming something to become one with Krishna. एक चवन्नी अट्ठन्नी नहीं, करोड़ों रुपए चोरी करना है. Somebody is designing some material benefits is a material desire. But this person is desiring to become one with Supreme, thinking that Supreme is impersonal. And I also want to become impersonal. That is the kind of highest desire. Similarly, a mystic yogi who practices the yoga system with half open eyes, ceasing all material activities, desires some satisfaction for his personal self. But a person acting in Krishna consciousness works for the satisfaction of the whole without self-interest. A Krishna conscious person has no desire for self-satisfaction. His criteria of success is the satisfaction of Krishna. And thus he is the perfect sannyasi or a perfect yogi. Why is a perfect sannyasi or perfect yogi? Because anashrita karma phalam. Without taking shelter of any karma, any resultant of his work. One who does karyam karma kaloti ha. A Krishna conscious person has no desire for self-satisfaction, sense gratification. His criteria of success is the satisfaction of Krishna. And thus he is a perfect sannyasi or a perfect yogi. So he is a devotee who is practicing bhakti yoga and desiring to go back to Godhead. Is a perfect yogi, according to this word.
We want to do service.
No, he wants to go back to Godhead. His desire is to
That is also a
go
desire.
back to Godhead.
But
So
that
is
is
he a
also
perfect yogi?
no,
Huh?
no, because he has a desire to go back to God.
Because he has a desire. Huh? So no desire except for pleasing Krishna, service to Krishna, anashrita karma phalam. One's karma ka phal, anashrita, not taking shelter of, not desiring anything from one's activity. Karyam karma karoti, one who acts. The sannyasi is a yogi cha. Na niragnir, na chakriya. Or the one who is not lighting any fire for cooking. Why? Because he is asking bhiksha. He is not lighting the fire. Why? Because he has taken sannyas. Jnana yogi, taken sannyas, wants to become one with Krishna. That is the desire. So any desire, the desire. That is not real sannyas. What is spiritual desire? Why you want to go back to Godhead? Why can't you serve here if Krishna wants you to serve here? Our desire is to please Krishna, not to fulfill our desire. And request Krishna to.
Krishna's desire. The Krishna's desire is we should do something so that we can go back to him.
We should do something so that we go back to him. Krishna's desire. Krishna is like, he's Swarat. He can desire anything. He can desire to kill your son or daughter. Like Arjuna's son was killed in the battlefield. So then, one should accept that or not. So if Krishna desires not to go back to Godhead, then we are not telling that we want to stay here. Right? Devotees prefer going back to Godhead. Devotees prefer going back to Godhead just because there is no chance of bewilderment. Here there is a chance of bewilderment. So devotee is saying, I may get attracted to this world, so better let me perform bhakti and go back to Godhead, so that there I can take there I am in complete shelter of Krishna, devotees, no distraction. That is the desire. But if somebody says, no, I am performing bhakti, I will get back to Godhead now. I want to go back to Godhead. So I am performing bhakti. That is the desire. Our desire should be peace, Krishna. Whether Krishna takes one, gives me back to Godhead, or he puts me into Narak, does not matter. Pleasing him is a desire. Why? Because we cannot remain without desire. We have to desire as long as we are soul, which we are eternally. Soul presence symptom is soul is full of desires. Soul is blissful. Soul has no thirst, no hunger, no disease, everlasting, blissful, full of desire. So desire you cannot refrain from. But what is real desire? What is distorted desire? Real desire is like fish, remains in the water. It's a constitutional position, remain in the water. Outside, it's not situated properly. So similarly, for devotees or a living entity situated in Krishna consciousness, desiring to serve Krishna, that is the real desire. Anything apart from that is a separate desire. If somebody says that even desiring that is also a desire, come on, that will remain. We are spirit soul. So desire will always remain. But what should be the desire? Only so, because that is our constitutional position. Jivera Swarup Hoy Nityera Krishna Das. We are always servant of Krishna. Desiring to serve Krishna, to be servant, is the safest, pure, constitutional desire. One
Prabhuji.
cannot refrain from that.
Prabhuji.
Yes.
Prabhuji, can I just ask a small query?
Yes, please.
While commencing this Bhagavad Gita class, I recall you had said one of the purpose of life is to work towards getting out of this cycle of birth and death. Is that also not desire amongst human beings to get out of this cycle of birth and death?
Cycle of birth and death, when we say, that means samsara. In this samsara, in this world, we are stuck into the cycle of birth and death. So by practicing Krishna consciousness, one will be freed from the cycle of birth and death. So when somebody says that our desire is to get freed from the cycle of birth and death, so that means what? Person has to get out from the material world and material consciousness of lording over this material world by sense gratification. So desiring to get out of sense gratification and free from the cycle of birth and death is a spiritual desire, which can happen only by taking shelter of Krishna and acting for pleasing him. So when we are situated in that consciousness, then that desire of getting freed from the cycle of birth and death is a spiritual desire. But cultivating the thought that I want to get freed from the cycle of birth and death and I want to go to the spiritual world, that is a material desire. Why? Because even one being in the material world, being in this world, can be freed from the cycle of birth and death. It's not necessary that one has to go back to God. Only then one will be freed from the cycle of birth and death. Even in this world, when somebody is fully Krishna consciousness, that person is already liberated, already freed from the cycle of birth and death. Isn't it?
Very subtle difference actually.
Yeah.
So as long as that desire is spiritual, you say that desire is fine. That's acceptable.
Yeah. Desire is only spiritual when it will be na dhanam, na janam, na sundarim kavitam va jagadisha kamaye mama janmani ishware bhavata bhakti ahe tuti tvai. Prabhupada mentions in this verse at the end, this shloka, O Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor to enjoy beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. What I want only is the causeless mercy of your devotional service in my life, birth after birth. See, birth after birth. Even if I may have to take many births, still, only desire is avatar bhakti rahe tuki tvai.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Bhakti is above the modes of three modes. Bhakti is beyond the three modes, sattva, rajas and tamas. But the people who are conditioned. They are in three modes. So when they practice bhakti, which is beyond three words, beyond three modes, bhakti becomes mixed because desire is in the three modes. So somebody who is in the mode of passion performs bhakti. So that his practice of devotional service is bhakti in the mode of passion. Somebody who is in the mode of goodness and practicing bhakti, that person's bhakti is in the mode of sattva. And somebody who is in the mode of ignorance and he practices bhakti, that person's practice is in the mode of ignorance. But bhakti per se is a beyond three words. It's a gunatita. So when somebody who is in the mode of sattva guna and he thinks that by bhakti I want to get liberated, by bhakti all my karma will be freed from the karma, free food. You know? Somebody wants to distribute food, karma free food. So then he offers to the Lord and makes Lord as a system by which to make the food karma free. And that person's bhakti is in the mode of goodness, because he thinks bhakti to be something by which one will get freed from, or he wants to be liberated and he performs the bhakti. That person's bhakti is in the mode of goodness. Similarly, somebody who practices bhakti for gaining something, for attaining something material, that person's bhakti is in the mode of passion. Like Dhruva Maharaj, he practiced bhakti for the desire of getting a kingdom which is greater than his great grandfather. So his practice was in the mode of passion. And somebody who is performing bhakti for in the mode of ignorance with the intention to harm someone, like a Diti who performed bhakti so that he can get a son who can kill Indra. Her performance of bhakti was in the mode of ignorance. So similarly, a person who is desiring to perform bhakti with the intention to liberate oneself, it may be even going back to God. That is also bhakti in the mode of clear. Yes.
That's one more. So we have till 5.30.
We'll cover that later. Okay. Yes, any questions? So anashita karma phalam karyam karma karoti yaha. So karyam karma karoti yaha. So the focus is on anybody who is acting, renouncing the fruits of the action, and such a person is a sannyasi and he is a yogi. So this glorifies what? Ashtanga yoga or Nishkam karma yoga? Nishkam karma. So this chapter is about Jnana yoga, Ashtanga yoga, right? So the initial two verses of this sixth chapter, it glorifies first the Nishkam karma yoga. Or in the sense, Prabhupada, as we say, Prabhupada mentions that Nishkam karma yoga is nothing but the action in Krishna consciousness, with Bhakti yoga. So the second verse, which also glorifies the Ashtanga yoga, we'll read that, not Ashtanga yoga, Bhakti yoga or Nishkam karma yoga. Yam sanyasamiti prahun yogam tam vidi pandava nahi asanyas sankalpo yogi bhavati kaschana. What is called renunciation? You should know to be the same as yoga, or linking oneself with the Supreme. O son of Pandu, for one can never become a yogi unless he renounces the desire for the sense gratification. Perfect. Real sannyas yoga or bhakti means that one should know his constitutional position as a living entity and act accordingly. The living entity has no separate independent identity. He is the marginal energy of the Supreme. When he is entrapped by the material energy, he is conditioned, and when he is conditioned, when he is Krishna conscious or aware of the spiritual energy, he is in his real and natural state of life. Therefore, when one is in complete knowledge, one ceases all material sense gratification or renounces all kinds of sense gratificatory activities. This is practiced by the yogis who restrain the senses from the material attachment. But a person in Krishna consciousness has no opportunity to engage his senses in anything which is not for the purpose of Krishna. Therefore, a Krishna conscious person is simultaneously a sannyasi and a yogi. The purpose of knowledge and of restraining the senses as prescribed in the Jnana and the Yoga process is automatically served in the Krishna consciousness. I repeat, the purpose of knowledge, of restraining and of restraining the senses as practiced in the Jnana and the Yoga process. So in the Jnana Yoga, what is the goal? The purpose of the knowledge. The Jnana Yogis are involved in gaining the knowledge. Which kind of knowledge?
Impersonal Brahman.
Impersonal knowledge, right? So the purpose of knowledge and of restraining the senses as mentioned, as prescribed in the Jnana and the Yoga practice. Right? We saw in chapter 4 previously, verse number 25, which talks about the in chapter 4, verse 25, which talks about the various kinds of yajna, starting with the brahmachari and the grihastha. So the brahmachari, they perform the yoga by yajna by putting the senses into the sense object, controlling the senses, right, from the sense object, so the fire of sense object. Similarly, the grihasthas, they control, they put the sense object into the fire of senses. Then there was about the impersonal yogi, right? About the impersonal yogi. So the impersonal yogi, they perform yajna by putting themselves, consuming themselves, their identity. So they put their identification into the fire of Brahman realization, right? They put themselves, they lose their identity, they want to lose themselves, their identification into the fire of Brahman self-realization. So similarly here we see the purpose of the knowledge and of restraining the senses. And there, later on, it was mentioned that after brahmachari, grihastha, then impersonalist, and then before that there was about the impersonalist and the demigod worshippers. So the demigod worshippers, they sacrifice what? They sacrifice their resources into the fire of getting something more, material desires, fulfillment, right? So that is the sacrifice of whom? That is the sacrifice of a demigod worshipper, right? To sacrifice their resources in the fire of getting something more, right? Demigod worship. Then second was impersonalist. They sacrifice their identity in the fire of Brahman realization. And then after that, brahmachari, grihastha, their sacrifice is mentioned. After that, the sacrifice of yogis is mentioned, Ashtanga yogi. In that, they sacrifice not only the controlled senses into the fire of control, sense control, but along with that, controlling the senses, they also control the pranas. So here, the purpose of knowledge and restraining the senses, as prescribed in the Jnana and the Yoga process, restraining the senses, right, is automatically served in Krishna consciousness. Means that which is achieved by the Jnana Yogi and Ashtanga Yogi is simply achieved by the Nishkam Karma Yogi or the Krishna conscious person. Why? Because in both the cases, in the case of Jnana Yogi and in the case of Ashtanga Yogi, They both have achieved the sense control. Right? Nishkam Karma Yogi, they are practicing Nishkam Karma Yoga to achieve the sense control. Once they achieve sense control, they situate into what? Jnana Yoga. They leave their Nishkam Karma Yoga practice. Why? Because they are situated in what? Jnana Yoga. Studying about the impersonal Brahman. Right? Therefore, they do not cook Niragni. Right? But situated in Jnana. After situated in Jnana at once time, then they focus fully on Jnana and Samadhi. That is Ashtanga Yoga practices. The yogi, Ashtanga Karma Yogi, at one point, when he has controlled the mind, he gets into what? Jnana Yoga practice. And when he is furthermore advanced, at the end of that, he gets into Ashtanga Yoga practice. Once having realized oneself, Atma, he gets into Ashtanga Yoga practice, wherein he then, having realized oneself, he tries to understand Paramatma. Then, having attained Paramatma realization, then he gets liberated. After Paramatma realization, there is no liberation. Just knowing oneself as a spirit soul is not a liberation. Only after realizing Paramatma, then one gets liberated. And what kind of liberation one achieves? By the realization of Atma and Paramatma. There are 5 kinds of liberation. Shantaras, Takhyaras, Daksyaras, Sakhyaras, Aksalya and Madhuri. So, this person who have realized self and the Paramatma, he only attains which realization, which liberation? Shant. And that too in Vaikuntha. Right? And then in Golok, then other further, this kind of devotees are not there. Because only after Bhagavan realization, they can involve in other 4 processes. This is the sequential upgradation of those who are practicing Nishkam Karma Yoga, then Jnana Yoga, then Ashtanga Yoga, then Bhakti Yoga. For somebody who directly takes to Bhakti Yoga, senses may not be controlled. But yes, he does not have to do any other thing. He just has to undergo Bhakti Yoga, the process of Bhakti Yoga, offer everything to the Lord, do everything for the pleasure of Krishna, chant his name, read about him. In this way, that person automatically offers everything to Krishna. His senses get controlled, his mind becomes stabilized, and he realizes himself as a part and parcel of Krishna. That's how he's situated in the position of realization of the Supreme Lord, Krishna. That's how the process is. So, Prabhupada here mentions the purpose of knowledge and of restraining the senses that's prescribed in the Jnana and the Yoga process is automatically served in Krishna consciousness. These people have to do it separately, performing Nishkam Karma Yoga first. Once achieve that, they have to leave that and then go to the jungle, practice Jnana Yoga, take sannyas order, do that. But it's all impractical. So Bhakti Yoga, anybody can do. Jnana Yoga, sannyas ashram is necessary. Ashtanga Yoga, same. One has to leave the home and practice. But Bhakti Yoga, anybody can practice. If one is unable to give up the activities, so Prabhupada here mentions is automatically served in Krishna consciousness. If one is unable to give up the activities of his selfish nature, then Jnana and Yoga are of no avail. Why? Because the starting point of Jnana and Yoga is what? Giving up sense gratification. Right? So, one cannot practice only. Yam sannyasam iti praho yogam tat iti pandava. Nahi asanyasta sankalpo. What is the common feature when we say what is called renunciation is known to be as a yoga. What is sannyas or renunciation is called a yoga only. So what is common in that? Like we
Prabhuji,
say, no? Yeah,
sorry.
I'll complete
Yes.
then. Just like if I say This person is a lion. Huh? Means he'll work. He's kind of a lion. Means what? He's a lion? No, means, but what is the quality in him? Fearlessly he's working. Right? So similarly, when we say, what is sannyas, what is yogi? One who is a yogi, Ashtanga yogi, and sannyas is the same as Nishkam yogi, Nishkam karma yogi. That means, what is that common in that? By which we can identify, I say that this is the same. So, this next line. Nahi asanyasta sankalpo. Oh, for one who cannot become a yogi unless he renounces the desire of self-gratification. So, asanyasta sankalpo. Sankalpo means desire. So, asanyasta. Unless one gives up that, one cannot be a yogi, not sannyas. So, Nishkam karma yogi who is working, but what he has given up? Desire for the self-gratification. If somebody has given up, then he is a yogi and he is a sannyasi also. But if somebody who has not given up and he performs, he situates himself into a jnani or a yogi, and that is nacha asanyasta sankalpo yogi bhavati kaschana. He cannot be a yogi. Getting the point? Right? So that is the similarity. If one is unable to give up the activities of his selfish nature, then jnana and yoga are of no avail. The real aim is for a living entity to give up all the selfish satisfaction and to be prepared to satisfy the Supreme. So that is the real aim. A Krishna conscious person has no desire for any kind of self-enjoyment, because from start only, when we say it's performing Krishna consciousness, pure devotional service, what is the goal of pure devotional service? To please Krishna. Right? He is always engaged for the enjoyment of the Supreme. So initially he may not be perfect. He may not be perfect, but his goal is clear. He does not want anything material from his devotional service. If I ask you, what is your desire? Why are you performing bhakti? What is your desire? Will you say, I want to buy a home, I want to get married, so I am performing devotional service? Will you say like this? No. So that means what you are practicing is what? Your devotional service. Right? We may be conditioned. We may commit mistakes. Right? But our practice is what? Pure devotional service. By practicing pure devotional service, our desires, our contamination gets purified. Right? So, he is always engaged for the enjoyment of the Supreme. One who has no information of the Supreme must therefore be engaged in the self-satisfaction, because no one can stand on the platform of inactivity. So one who has no information of the Supreme, means who does not do for satisfaction of Supreme, must therefore be engaged in self-satisfaction, because if not Supreme, then he will desire something else. Anything not desiring for the pleasure of the Supreme means something else. And that is what. And therefore, because one cannot stand on the platform of inactivity, one who has no information, therefore, must be engaged in the self-satisfaction. All purposes are perfectly served by the practice of. Yes, Mataji.
Yes, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, have mentioned that the mystic yogi, after he attains perfection, he gets 5 type of rasas, right? He realizes Paramatma and merge into involved in the 5 type of rasas. So, and he reach the Vaikuntha.
No, he does not get into 5 kind of liberation. He gets into only first liberation, not others.
Not
He
others.
only gets yes.
Shantaras. So in Shantaras, what he does in the Vaikuntha?
I mean, he can go to the Vaikuntha, but he remains in a Shanta, liberated position. There is no exchange of the reciprocation with the Supreme.
So the next type of rasas he doesn't achieve, and then he remain there.
Huh?
So next 5, can you explain other type of rasas who can achieve?
Other is Dasya, Sakhya, Vatsalya, Madhurya rasa. So the devotee who are doing bhakti pure devotional service unto Krishna, by the practice they will realize their Swarupa, their connection with the Supreme in one of these four rasas. Then they will be transferred to the lokas where they will be interacting with the Lord or his avatara in this relationship.
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Correct.
Prabhuji,
Yes.
what is the difference between the sannyasi and the yogi?
Sannyasi is the one who is in the sannyas ashram, one way. Or sannyasi can mean somebody who has given up sannyasta, kama sankalpa, anything result of one's activity, karma. That is a real sannyasi. Yona dvesti. Yeyasa nitya sannyasi, yona dvesti na kankshati. Yona dvesti does not hate anybody. Dvesti does not do dvesha. Na kankshati. No, he has a desire, attachment. Na kankshati from his activity. So he can be active, he can be a vyasta, but he's working. But given up the sankalpa, the desire for hoarding or anything, possessing or that is the real meaning of sannyasi. But somebody we say, oh, he's a sannyasi. So they mean that one is situated in a sannyas ashram. So when you say somebody who is situated, who can be situated in a sannyas ashram? Sannyas ashram is who can be situated. So one who has given up all the material desires and his goal is spiritual. So that is the in the ashram way, And in the conventional form, the people who are sannyasis in the sense those who are impersonal who are after impersonal liberation. So this is the conventional meaning I'm telling. This one organization, which is that who are into this impersonal liberation, right? And Tridandi, not Tridandi, this one in the south is organization who desires their impersonal liberation. So they are the Gyan Yogi, and the compulsory for them is to take sannyas. So that can be practiced, that Gyan Yoga can be practiced by somebody who is into sannyas ashram. So the sannyasis of those people, those organizations are called sannyasis. That is the ashram kind of. That is also sannyasi. So sannyas can be meaning different thing based on the context. Yes, Prabhu.
Prabhuji, is renouncing of desire for sense gratification and unattached to fruits of work, are they the same thing?
Unattached to the fruit, unattached to the fruit of work,
and renouncing of desire for sense gratification, are these same?
Yeah. Yes.
Are these same? This is what is this is how the yogi is being described, no, in these two verses.
Yeah, because that is the initial stage.
Okay.
To become a yogi, the initial stage is they should not have any desire for the sense gratification.
So
similarly for Jnani also, they should not have any desire for sense gratification. Only then they can become the yogi or they can become the Jnani.
So unattachment to fruits of your work is same as unattachment to your sense gratification. Both are same thing.
Same.
Both are same thing, right? Thank you.
Yes, because unless one is not attached to the sense gratification, how can one give up the fruits? Because fruits, like somebody who is earning money, that money can grant him everything, enjoyment of food, senses, pleasure, all these things. So if somebody is unattached to that, that means somebody sense control. It needs sense control. That leads to knowledge. That leads to knowledge. That leads to knowledge.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Yes.
We were talking about different steps. That first to stop and then do that sannyas. But sannyas brahmachari, that is seminaries.
Brahmachari is the first step in the they brahmacharis are traditionally.
Of your identity. Yes.
Who? They have to what?
Also, figure their identity. Live their home.
You see, leaving home is a different thing. give up identity means which identity? Like a children of certain father, mother. They still remain the son and daughter of somebody. Right? They leave home in the sense because this ashram which is a setup here, not a traditional brahmachari ashram. In a traditional brahmachari ashram, one is enrolled right from the childhood, 5 years of age. Yeah, from 5 years of age, from childhood, one is enrolled into Gurukul till the Grahastha ashram. They stay there. They practice disciplined life under the Guru. So that is a traditional brahmacharya. Unless Guru says, Guru has not eaten, that brahmachari will not eat. So here, what ashram we have is a temporary setup. Because nobody has studied under Guru, but still they want to practice, right? And they have not studied even the Shastra. Because the entire 25 years goes into study of some degree, educational, professional education. But still they want to practice. So then set up for brahmachari ashrams is set up so that one can come, practice, and then continue or get married. So somebody is situated in that ashram, the brahmachari, can get married if so desire, or remain there. And later take sannyas, which is also not recommended in Kali Yuga as per the scriptures. Because it's very difficult to practice. One cannot practice. One has to cut off from social life, social family, everything. But Prabhupada said, preach. Preaching means then you have to talk, you have to come across with everybody. So then a traditional sannyas ashram can't be maintained. So Prabhupada said, for the purpose of preaching, one can take. Goal is to what? Please Krishna, but for practicing, but for spreading this knowledge, one can take sannyas. So we'll move ahead. Oh, 2 verses. Third verse. Aruruksho muneryogam karma karanam uchyate yogarudasya tasyaiva samah karanam uchyate. For one who is a neophyte in the eightfold yoga system, work is said to be the means. And for one who is already elevated in the yoga, cessation of all material activity is said to the means. So, Aruruksho Muner Yoga Karma Karana Uchate. Karma, activity. Karana means, it is said. For whom? Yoga Arurukshu. जो चलना सीख रहा है. One is trying to walk. Arurukshu. Right? One is trying to walk, trying to learn. Initial stages. For him, work is the mean. Because work will what work will do? Purify. योगारूढ़स्य जो चढ़ गया है सीढ़ी, आरूढ़ है, चढ़ गया, आरूढ़ हो गया ना, घोड़े पे बैठ गया, आरूढ़ हो गया. हाँ, तो योगारूढ़स्य, तो योगा means linking process, connecting. So one who has already connected with the Lord, one is not connected, आरूढ़, so one is trying. और इन वर्क, काम करो, सेवा करो, निष्काम कर्म करो, भक्ति करो, भगवान के लिए करो. हाँ, so that is the means, karma. Yogarudasya, one who has already climbed up or already achieved. Samah karanam uchyate. For him, it is no longer needed to control the senses. Why? He is already controlled. Right? So activity is not needed. Why? Because like yam, niyam, asan, pranayam, dharana, dhyan, samadhi में लग जाओ. समाधि में योगासना करने की आवश्यकता नहीं. But the purpose of yogasana is what? To achieve the sthirta of mind. The mind does not fluctuate. The mind is already controlled. Then what is at the end to be done? Meditate and situate in samadhi. So then all these actions of yam, niyam, asan, pranayam, it will be disturbance. Right? So then samakarana uchyate. For that, giving up karma, which kind of these things, is the instrument, is the means. Right? So I repeat, for one who is a neophyte in eightfold yoga system, work is said to be the means. Which kind of work? Yam, niyam, asan, pranayam. Huh? These are the activities, physical activities, right? So the work is the means. And for one who has already elevated in yoga, cessation of all these material activities. So these are all material activities, no? Yam, niyam, asan, pranayam. So cessation of these activities is said to be the means. Like no meat eating, no gambling, no illicit sex, no intoxication. It is material, spiritual. Material. Right? Don't eat this, don't do this. This is don't do this. But what we have to do? Chant Hare Krishna. But if somebody is already chanting Hare Krishna, then it is needed. No intoxication. Because he's intoxicated with holy name. So then you don't have to tell him, Baba, don't get into intoxication. He's already intoxicated with Krishna Prem. And this does not matter only. For somebody who is in the lower stage, this thing matters. For somebody who has achieved already the higher thing, these are myriad students. The process of linking oneself with the Supreme is called the yoga. Right? What is the yoga? The process of linking oneself with the Supreme is the yoga. It may be compared to the ladder for attaining the topmost spiritual realization. So if we consider a ladder, this ladder is for reaching what? Top, supreme, linking. So it's a yoga ladder. This is a yoga ladder. When we say this is a yoga ladder, that means the yoga purpose is what? To link with the Supreme. Who is that Supreme? That can be Brahman, that can be Paramatma, or that can be Bhagwan. Because all these three are the aspects, categories of this realization of that absolute, which can be realized in three phases: Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagwan. So this is called as a yoga. This ladder begins from the lowest material condition of living entity and rises up to the perfect realization in pure spiritual love. Right? So according to the various elevations, different parts of the ladder are known by the different names. As per the elevation, this ladder is known by the different names. But all in all, the complete ladder is called yoga and may be divided into three parts. This is the important slide. All in all, the complete ladder is called yoga. Why? First line. What is yoga? The process of linking oneself with the Supreme. Right? So, it can be divided into three parts. This yoga ladder can be divided into three parts, namely Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga. The beginning of the ladder is called Yoga Rurukshu state, and the highest rung is called Yoga Aruda. One who has realized Yoga Aruda. One who is in initial state, Yoga Rurukshu. So, who will be working? Who will be in a working stage? Yoga Rurukshu. Right? And who need not work? Is in Aruda. Right? So this yoga ladder starts with which stage? Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga. Where is fruitive activities? Karma Kand. Huh? Is the Jnana Yoga fruitive activity? Karma Kand.
Below
It is not a
the
yoga only. It is not a yoga only. It is not in the yoga ladder only. Because in the yoga ladder, you need to have yoga, linking with the Supreme as a goal. Your desire is to connect with the Supreme. Only then it can be called a yoga. If it is not that, then fruitive activity, karma kand. Somebody who is doing, practicing something, but he wants to desire fruitive activity, then that is not a yoga only. That's a karma kand. Karma yoga will come when Nishkam karma yoga, right? Karma yoga, Nishkam karma yoga. That can be called a yoga. Why? Because thinking with the Supreme. One is giving up one's fruit for connecting with the Supreme. Right? So that karma yoga gets converted into then what? Dhyana yoga. Then dhyana yoga. than Bhakti Yoga. So concerning the eightfold yoga system, attempts in the beginning to enter into the meditation through regulative principles of life and practice of different sitting posture, which are more or less bodily exercise, are considered fruitive material activities. Right? Initial stages of mystic yoga. All such activity lead to the achieving perfect mental equilibrium to control the senses. When one is accomplished in the practice of meditation, he ceases all the disturbing mental activities. Yeah. A Krishna conscious person, now here for Krishna conscious person. For Krishna conscious person, however, is situated from the beginning only on the platform of meditation because he always thinks of Krishna. Like even if somebody is cooking in a kitchen, he is in the platform of what? Meditation. How do I cook for Krishna? Oh, this is meant for Krishna. Or this is for Krishna. Don't touch here. Don't do this. This is meant for Gopinath. They are already meditating. They are already in Samadhi. Samadhi does not mean going to jungle and sitting and meditating on Paramatma. That is one kind of Samadhi which is meant for Ashtanga Yogi. But a Bhakti Yogi is also in Samadhi, and that person is thinking about Krishna and acting for that purpose, serving for that purpose, performing devotional service for that. So a Krishna conscious person, however, is situated from the beginning on the platform of meditation because he always thinks of Krishna and being constantly engaged in the service of Krishna, he is considered to have ceased all material activity. Because why material activity? Material activity means desiring something material. That is a material activity. But a Bhakti Yogi is always thinking about Krishna, desiring for Krishna. He is already situated in higher stage. Next verse. यदा हीनेन्द्रियर्थेषु न कर्मसु अनुसज्जते सर्वसंकल्पसन्न्यासी योगारूढस्तदुच्यते. So now this verse describes the symptoms which define yoga aruda. Yoga rukshu and then yoga aruda. So this verse describes the symptoms which define the yoga aruda. What is that? A person is said to be elevated in the yoga when, having renounced all material desire, he neither acts for sense gratification nor engages in. Isn't a Krishna conscious person or a devotee of Krishna engaged in Bhakti Yoga into this stage? Because having renounced all material desires, he neither acts for sense gratification because he acts for Krishna, nor engages in fruitive activity because he is doing Bhakti Yoga. But now we are talking about whom? About somebody who is into Jnana Yogi and Ashtanga Yogi and into the higher stage with renounce them. Right? So let's see how Prabhupada takes this verse. When a person is fully engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, he is pleased in himself. And thus he is no longer engaged in sense gratification or in fruitive activity. Otherwise, one must be engaged in sense gratification, since one cannot live without engagement. One has to engage. That is the nature of the soul. Engagement. Okay? So without Krishna consciousness, one must be always seeking self-centered or selfish, extended selfish activity. But a Krishna conscious person can do everything for satisfaction of Krishna and therefore thereby be perfectly detached from sense gratification. One who has no such realization must mechanically try to escape material desire before being elevated to the top rung of yoga. Mechanically. What is that mechanical process? Yam, asana, pranayam, karna, dhyan, samaya. You have to mechanically do that. है उद्धारेदात्मान आत्मानं न आत्मानम् अवसादये आत्मैव हि आत्मनो बन्धु आत्मैव रिपुरात्मनः. One must deliver himself with the help of his mind and not degrade himself. The mind is the friend of the conditioned soul and his enemy as well. So uddharet atmana atmanam. So many atmas here is mentioned. Atma can mean body, Atma can mean mind, or Atma can mean self. There are actually 6 meanings of the Atma. Determination, right? Even supreme can be mean Atma, right? So 6 meanings of Atma. Prabhupada here talks that Atma can refer to the mind, Atma can refer to the body, or Atma can refer to the soul. ऐसे हम बोलते हैं ना, ये तो इसकी आत्मा है. This is the core of something. Core of something, no? That is Atma. Like Atma of a tree is where? Root, right? So that is the core of something. Similarly, a person who is meditating, Ashtanga Yogi, what he has to consider? What he has to consider? He has to focus on what?
Paramatma.
Mind, right? So mind is the Atma. And then mind he has to focus on what? Soul. Mind has to focus on what? Soul. The soul is also Atma. So uddharet atmana atmanam. Uddhare, one should meditate atmanam unto atmanam. By what? Atmana, by mind. One should focus onto Atma by what? Atma. So uddharet atmana. Uddhare means one must deliver by the mind. Atmana, by the mind. Sanskrit atmana means by the mind. By the Atma. Sorry, by the Atma. Uddharet atmana atmanam. So one should by the mind, by the Atma, deliver the Atma. So here by Atma means by the soul, by the mind, deliver what? Soul. By focusing on it. Right? Na Atmanam avasadhe. One should not put into degradation Atma. Either that Atma means soul. One should not degrade one's soul. Right? Atma hi eva atmana bandhu. So Atma hi eva atmana of the conditioned soul. Mind is of the conditioned soul bandhu. Friend. Atma eva ripur atmana. That Atma, the mind, can also be a enemy if not controlled. Very simple. So one must deliver himself with the help of his mind and not degrade himself. The mind is the best, is the friend of the conditioned soul and enemy as well. The word Atma denotes body, mind and the soul, depending upon the different circumstances. In the yoga system, the mind and the conditioned soul are especially important. Since the mind is the central point of yoga practice, Atma refers here to the mind. The purpose of the yoga system is to control the mind and to draw it away from the attachment to the sense object. It is stressed herein that the mind must be so trained that it can deliver the conditioned soul from the mere of nescience. In material existence, one is subjected to the influence of the mind and the senses. Right? There are so many things attractive to the mind and the senses. And one easily gets attached, swayed away. One cannot focus either on bhakti nor on jnana yoga system or neither on Ashtanga yoga system. In fact, a pure soul is entangled in the material world because the mind is involved with the false ego, which desires to lord it over the material nature. So the root cause is mentioned. Pure soul is engaged in the material world because mind is involved with the false ego, which desires to lord it over the material nature. Therefore, the mind should be trained so that it will not be attracted by the glitter of material nature. And in this way, the conditioned soul may be saved. One should not degrade oneself by the attraction to the sense object. The more one is attracted by the sense object, the more one becomes entangled in the material existence. The best way to disentangle oneself is to always engage the mind in Krishna consciousness. The word he is used for emphasizing this point that one must do this. It is also said, Manahi manushyanam karanam bandha mokshayo bandhaya vishaya sango mukta visayam manaha. For a mind is the cause of the bondage and the mind is the cause of liberation. Mind absorbed in the sense object is the cause of bondage and the mind detached from the sense object is the cause of liberation. Amrit Bindu Upanishad 2 is mentioned. Therefore, the mind which is always engaged in Krishna consciousness is the cause of supreme liberation. Any questions? Verse 6. Bandhuratmanatmanastasya येनात्मैवात्मना जितः अनात्मनस्तु शत्रुत्वे वर्तेतात्मैव शत्रुवत्. For him who has conquered the mind is the best of the friends. But for one who has failed to do so, his mind will remain the greatest enemy. The purpose of practicing the Eightfold Yoga is to control the mind in order to make it a friend in discharging the human mission. Unless the mind is controlled, the practice of yoga or show is simply a waste of time. One who cannot control his mind lives always with the greatest enemy, and thus his life and his mission are spoiled. The constitutional position of the living is to carry out the order of the superior. As long as one mind remains unconquered enemy, one has to serve the dictations of the lust, anger, avarice, illusion, etc. But when the mind is conquered, one voluntarily agrees to abide by the dictation of the Supreme Personality of God, who is situated within the heart of everyone as Paramatma. The real yoga practice entails meeting the Paramatma within the heart and then following his dictation. For one who takes to Krishna consciousness directly, perfect surrender to the dictation of the Lord follows automatically. जितात्मन प्रशान्तस्य परमात्मा समाहितः शीतोष्ण सुख दुःखेषु तथा मान अपमानयो. For one who has conquered the mind, the super soul is already reached. For he has attained the tranquility. To such a man, happiness and distress, heat and cold, honor and dishonor are all the same. Purport. Actually, every living entity is intended to abide by the dictation of the Supreme Personality of God, who is seated in everyone's heart as Paramatma. When the mind is misled by the external illusory energy, one becomes entangled in the material activity. Therefore, as soon as one's mind is controlled through one of the yoga system, one should be considered to have already reached the destination. One has to abide by the superior dictation. When one's mind is fixed on the superior nature, he has no alternative but to follow the dictation of the Supreme. The mind must admit some superior dictation and follow it. The effect of controlling the mind is that one automatically follows the dictation of the Paramatma of the Super Soul. Because this transcendental position is at once achieved by one who is in Krishna consciousness, the devotees of the Lord is unaffected by the dualities of material existence, namely distress and happiness, cold and heat, etc. This state is practically samadhi or absorption in the Supreme. If somebody is acting on the order of the Supreme authorities, in particular seva, that person's mind is already controlled. Why? Because mind's nature is to act upon something supreme. If somebody says that I don't hear anybody, I do whatever my mind says. But that person is also acting, is also exhibiting by following the Supreme. Who is that Supreme? Again, Paramatma in the heart. And because that person is desiring sense gratification, the Lord is dictating him to do this, do that, based on his karma. Right? So he has to follow the Supreme. But he is uncontrolled. He does not have control over the mind. He may say, I do whatever my mind says. He may say whatever I like, I do, but he does not have control over the mind. Huh? Because that mind is मनमानी कर रहा है, खुद के मन की कर रहा है, लेकिन Lord is making him dance. Within the heart, Lord is telling him, guiding the mind, okay, now desire this, now desire this. Why? Because he wants that. Ultimately, he is being controlled by the Supreme only. But he is not agreeing to get control. Right? Therefore, he gets mindful. But somebody who willingly surrenders to the Supreme, that is agrees to follow the Supreme, which anyway he has to, then that person is controlled mind. Because he's following the dictation of Supreme.
Prabhuji, in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, out of all the senses, I am the mind. Matlab, Krishna is the mind.
Yeah, Krishna is the mind.
So whatever
In
we
the
are
sense,
doing, we think we are doing of our mind, but actually Krishna is making us do. You mean to say that, right?
yeah, I mean, he's facilitating. Krishna is, he is, like the sense, he is, बोलते ना वो बहने दे रहे हैं. He's allowing the mind to go in that direction. But when one desires something else, then Lord can take control. Then Lord can take control. Otherwise, he's just allowing. Anumanta, upadrusta. Upadrusta. Like on a tree, soul and a super soul are sitting. Two parrots, soul and super soul. So one parrot is trying to enjoy the fruits of that tree. Another parrot is just observing and allowing. He's allowing, he's observing. So Krishna is observing what that person is desiring, what is thinking, feeling, willing, and what his desires are. Right? Mind is thinking, feeling, willing. What that person is desiring, per soul sees that. And then he Anumanta and Drishta and Anumanta, then he allows him. He allows him to go. He's allowing. Okay, you want this? Okay, go. But he may not give also. Why? Because he does not have that karma. Like I want to buy that Mercedes. But God will allow. God sees iske karma mein hai kya. Then he will allow. But from this all allowing, not allowing, if that person sees now enough of this, what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to buy or not? Oh God, please help me. Then Lord will dictate. Lord will send Guru in the front or within the heart as a Paramatma, he will reveal. Or so inside he can reveal as a Chaitya Guru, and outside he represents as a Guru, spiritual master, Diksha Guru or Diksha Guru. That person will tell. If we follow some Diksha Guru or Siksha Guru, we are actually following Krishna. As long as that Siksha Guru and Siksha Guru is following more Krishna. But if that person is also trying to control for his sense gratification, then that is not open. In that way, the system works. Clear? Okay, where were we? We completed verse 7. Okay, now verse 8. ज्ञान विज्ञान तृप्तात्मा भूतस्थो विजितेन्द्रियः युक्त इति उच्यते योगी समालोष्टास्मकाञ्चन. A person is said to be established in the self-realization as is called a yogi or a mystic when he is fully satisfied by the virtue of acquired knowledge and realization. Such a person is situated in the transcendence and is self-controlled. He sees everything, whether it be pebble, stone, or gold, as the same. Both knowledge without realization of the supreme truth is book knowledge. Without realization of the supreme truth is useless. This is stated as follows. Ata Sri Krishna Namadina Bhavid Grayam Indriya Sevan Mukhe Jivado Swayam Eva Spuratyada. No one can understand the transcendental nature of the form, name, quality, and pastimes of Sri Krishna through his materially contaminated senses. Only when one becomes spiritually saturated by the transcendental service of the Lord, the transcendental name, form, quality, and the pastimes of the Lord revealed to him, as per the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Holy name is spiritual. But we are trying to chant the holy name by what? Material mouth. Our words are also material. Holy name is spiritual, but our chanting is with the mouth. Pronunciation with the mouth, which is material. So then how can spiritual effect happen? If we are chanting with a material organ, producing material sound, how can? So, when Krishna becomes pleased by the service, person's desire to please Supreme Lord, follow the dictation of the authorities and chanting the holy name, then Lord comes and dances. within our mouth. That purifies us. Isn't it? So this Bhagavad Gita is the science of Krishna consciousness. No one can become Krishna conscious simply by mundane scholarship. One must be fortunate enough to associate with the person who is in pure consciousness. A Krishna conscious person has realized knowledge by the grace of Krishna because he is satisfied in the pure devotional service. By realized knowledge, one becomes perfect. By transcendental knowledge, one can remain steady in his conviction. But by mere academic knowledge, one can easily be deluded and confused by apparent contradictions. It is the realized soul who is actually self-controlled because he surrendered to Krishna. He is transcendental because he has nothing to do with the mundane scholarship. For his mundane scholarship and mental speculation, which may be as good as gold to others, are of no greater value than the pebbles or stones. So in other way, so the knowledge, mental speculation or the material knowledge is considered like a pebble for whom? For a person who is self-realized. So for that, for him, there is no difference between this pebble, stone, and yeah. So in another way, one who has realized the Atma, for him, even the stone, pebble, and gold are of the same. They're all material. Right? For him, the higher value is realization of Atma and Paramatma. Isn't it? And these things are all material. Though they may have different value, but they're all material. Now, next verse is little higher advanced person than one who considers stone, pebble, and the gold on the equal platform. Right? Because they are the non-living entity. Here, there are the living beings who may be a friend, maybe enemy, right? Maybe a relative. But somebody who considers even an enemy and a friend and a well-wisher to be unequal. Generally, we get attached to our family, friends, right? And we envy those who are envious of us, those who are westy, one who is envious. But somebody who considers all these things equal is a highly realized than somebody who considers pebble stones on the equal platform. Right? So this verse says, next verse. Surit mitraryudasina madhyastha dvesha bandhushu tadushu apita papeshu samabuddhi vishishyate. A person is considered still further advanced when he regards honest well-wishers, affectionate benefactors, the neutral mediators, the envious friends and the enemies, the pious and the sinners, all with an equal mind. So, Surut, who is Surut? A Surut is one who by his very nature desires another person's benefit. Well-wisher. Mitra. Who is Mitra? A Mitra is one who actually does beneficial act for another person out of affection. Friend. Ari. Ari is one who desires another's misfortune due to not having affection. Who is Udasina? Udasina is one who is neutral to two arguing parties. He is Udasin, neutral. Two arguing parties, he is neutral. Madhyastha. Madhyastha is one who attempts to stop a dispute. He attempts to stop a dispute. Udasin is one who is neutral to two arguing parties. But Madhyastha is one who attempts to stop a dispute. Dvesha is one who deserves to be hated because of his desire to injure others. Dveshya. One who deserves to be hated because of his desire to injure others. Bandhu. Bandhu is a person who desires one's benefit because of a family relationship. Naturally, no? A family relationship, they desire one's benefit. The sadhu is one who follows the dharma, and a sadhu or the pap is one who does not follow the dharma. Verse 10. Yogi yunjita satatam atmanam rasi stitah ekakiyat chittatma nirashir aparigraha. The transcendentalist should always engage his body, mind, and the self in relationship with the Supreme. He should live alone in a secluded place, nirashir ashi, and should always carefully control his mind. He should be free from desires and feelings of possessiveness. Perfect. Krishna is realized in different degrees as Brahman, Paramatma, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna consciousness means concisely to be always engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. But those who are attached to the impersonal Brahman or the localized super soul are also partially Krishna conscious. That means Jnanis and the yogis. Because the impersonal Brahman is the spiritual way of this Krishna, and the super soul is the all-pervading partial expansion of Krishna. Thus the impersonalist and the meditator are also indirectly Krishna conscious. A directly Krishna conscious person is the topmost transcendentalist because such a devotee knows that what is meant by the Brahman and Paramatma. His knowledge of the absolute truth is perfect, whereas the impersonalist and the meditative yogi are imperfectly Krishna conscious. Nevertheless, all of these are instructed herewith to be constantly engaged in their particular pursuit so that they may come to the highest perfection sooner or later. Right? All of these are instructed herewith to constantly engage in their particular pursuit so that they may come to the highest perfection sooner or later. The first business of the transcendentalist is to keep the mind always on Krishna. One should always think of Krishna and not forget him, even for a moment. Concentration of the mind on the Supreme is called samadhi or trance. What is samadhi or trance? Concentration of the mind on the Supreme is called samadhi or trance. In order to concentrate the mind, one should always remain in a seclusion and avoid disturbance by external object. He should be very careful to accept favorable and reject unfavorable conditions that affect his realization. So, rahasi stitaha, atmanam rahasi stitaha. That means secluded place. So, for yoga practice, Ashtanga yoga practice, one has to go to Truja. One cannot stay at home. Therefore, impractical. Jnana yoga, so naturally impractical. Rasta cannot perform. Why? Because eligibility is what? Sannyas. So Jnana yoga is out of question. What about Ashtanga yoga? This verse says, rahasi sthita, in a seclusion. So the first business of transcendentalists is to keep the mind always on Krishna. One should always think of Krishna. Okay, samadhi. In order to concentrate the mind, one should always remain in the seclusion and avoid disturbance by external object. He should be very careful to accept favorable and reject unfavorable conditions that affect his realization. So is the job favorable for him? 9 to 5 job is favorable for person who wants to do Ashtanga yoga. Home is unfavorable. What to speak of office? Even in the home, unfavorable. He has to just leave.
Even if the person is staying alone.
Huh?
Even if the person is
He's staying alone. City home is unfavorable. Good question. Staying alone, but environment, Vatavaran. 10 days Ganpati festival, everywhere bombardment. Dham, dhoom, dham. Deva, oh Deva. Huh? Unfavorable. Therefore, jungle or the place where there is no disturbance. Maybe some dham, Rishikesh, Haridwar. That too now has become a city kind of things. So that also place is not stable. Haridwar is favorable, but then not the city. So if people are coming and city kind people are coming and staying, though we are in Haridwar to say so, but where are we? So the spirit of the law is to be alone means what? Not to be alone in the jungle, not to be in the jungle surrounded with the people. No, that is not the law. Law means where there is no disturbance. And in perfect determination, he should not hanker after unnecessary material things and entangle him by the feeling of possessiveness. He's not possessing this, that, big mobiles, big apartments, big bed, and whatnot, possessiveness. All these perfections and precautions are perfectly executed when one is directing Krishna consciousness. Because direct Krishna consciousness means self-abnegation, wherein there is very little chance for material possessiveness. Srila Rupa Goswami characterizes Krishna consciousness this way. Anasaktasya vishayan yatarham upayunjata nirbandha Krishna sambandhe yuktam vairagyam uchyate. प्रापंचिकतया बुद्ध्या हरि संबंधी वस्तुनाम मुक्षुभि परित्यागो वैराग्यम पल्गु कथयते. When one is not attached to anything, but at the same time accepts everything in relation to Krishna, one is rightly situated above possessiveness. On the other hand, one who rejects everything without knowledge of his relationship to Krishna is not as complete in his renunciation. So devotees may be staying in the city full of possessing gold and silver for the decoration of Kopinath, but still they are detached. Still detached, and they are in highest perfection stage. Why? Because nothing, they understand nothing belongs to us. Everything is for pleasure of Krishna. If Lord provides, we give them. If Lord does not provide, we decorate them with whatever we have. No attachments, no regrets. A Krishna conscious person well knows that everything belongs to Krishna, and thus he is always free from the feeling of personal possessions. As such, he has no hankering for anything on his own personal account. He knows how to accept things in the favor of Krishna consciousness, how to reject things unfavorable to Krishna consciousness. He is always aloof from material things because he is always transcendental and he is always alone, having nothing to do with the persons, not in Krishna consciousness. Therefore, a person in Krishna consciousness is a perfect yogi. Somebody has nothing to do with Krishna, that person has nothing to do with that person. And if that person comes, Hare Krishna, and he wants to talk, this person will talk. About what? And if that person does not want to talk about Krishna, does not want to hear about Krishna, this person has nothing to do with that person. The goal is Krishna. Center is Krishna. शुचौ देशे प्रतिस्थाप्य स्थिरमासनमात्मनः नाति उच्छ्रितं नाति नीचं चैलाञ्जीन कुशोत्तरम् तत्रैकाग्रं मनः कृत्वा यतचित्तेन्द्रियक्रियः उपविश्यासने युञ्जया योगम आत्मा विशुद्धये. To practice yoga, one should go to a secluded place and should lay kusha grass on the ground and then cover it with a deer skin and a soft cloth. The seat should be neither too high nor too low and should be situated in a sacred place. The yogi should then sit on it very firmly and practice yoga to purify the heart by controlling his mind, senses and activities and fixing the mind on one point. Sacred place refers to the places of pilgrimage. In India, the yogis, transcendentalists, or the devotees all leave home and reside in a sacred place such as Prayag, Mathura, Vrindavan, Rishikesh, and Haridwar, and in solitude practice yoga where the sacred rivers like the Yamuna and the Ganges flow. But often this is not possible, especially for Westerners. The so-called yoga societies in the big cities may be successful in earning the material benefits, but they are not at all suitable for the cultural practice of yoga. One who is not self-controlled and whose mind is not undisturbed cannot practice meditation. Therefore, in Brihad Naradiya Puran, it is said that in Kali Yuga, the present Yuga or age, when person is in general are short-lived, slow in spiritual realization, and always disturbed by the various anxieties, the best means of spiritual realization is chanting the holy names of the Lord. Hare Krishna, Hare Nama, Hare Nama eva kevalam, Kalo nasteva, gatiranyata. The age of color and hypocrisy, the only means of deliverance is the chanting the holy name of the Lord. There is no other way, there is no other way, there is no other way. So does that mean we should not try to find out a secluded place, any place, and just chant Hare Krishna? Sufficient if we are so absorbed in chanting with all such disturbance. But we should not invite, we should not invite unnecessary disturbance and say that chanting can be done anywhere, which is fact. But still, one should try to find out seclusion, right? Because that will affect us until we are not in that transcendental phase where we are always chanting and unaffected. Like for Vishodhar Baba, he went towards the side of the toilet. Why? Because if he was chanting, people would come and ask for benediction. Pauchi asti hai, please benedict. He thought so much disturbance here. Let me go to the place where nobody comes. So near the toilet, bathroom, he went and he would chant. Absorption, he can focus even at that place where you want no people coming. Right? So whatever is needed to chant with a focus, we should do that. Right? So seclusion is Samam kaya shiro grivam Arayan achalam stiram Samprekshana puram swam Dishaschanavalokayan Prashantatma vigatabhi Brahmachari vrate stitah Manah samyamya matchitto Yukta asita matparaha. See the important line. Manah samyak matchitto Yukta asita matparaha. So see this Prabhupada points out. One should hold one's body, neck and head erect in the straight line and stare steadily at the tip of the nose. Thus, with an unagitated, subdued mind devoid of fear, completely free from sex life, one should meditate upon me within the heart and make me the ultimate goal of life. Capital me, that means supreme law. One should meditate upon me within the heart and make me the ultimate goal of life. See, the yoga practice, six-fold yoga system, ultimately tells about focus on whom? Krishna, nothing else. No light, no lamp, no Brahma Jyoti, no this, no that. Krishna, super soul. The goal of life is to know Krishna, who is situated in the heart of every living being as Paramatma, the four-ended Vishnu form. The yoga process is practiced in order to discover and see this localized form of Vishnu and not for any other purpose. The localized Vishnu Murti is the plenary representation of Krishna dwelling within one's heart. One who has no program to realize this Vishnu Murti is uselessly engaged in mock yoga practice and is certainly wasting his time. If anybody says, I am practicing yoga, meditating, what is your goal? Not Vishnu, four-handed form, meditate upon him, find him, then it is simply waste of time. As per the Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. Krishna is ultimate goal of life, and the Vishnu Murti situated in one heart is the object of yoga practice. To realize this Vishnu Murti within the heart, one has to observe complete abstinence from sex life. Brahmachari vrate sthitaha. Therefore, one has to leave home, live alone in secluded place, remaining seated as mentioned above. Therefore, he has to leave home. One cannot enjoy sex life daily at home or elsewhere and attain the so-called yoga class and thus become a yogi. One has to practice controlling the mind and avoiding all kinds of sense gratification, of which sex life is the chief. In the rules of the celibacy written by the great sage Yajnavalkya, it is said, Karmana manasa vacha sarvavastasu sarvada sarvatra maituna tyago brahmacharyam prachakshate. The vow of the brahmacharya is meant to help one completely abstain from the sex indulgence in work, words and mind at all times, under all circumstances and in all places. No one can perform correct yoga practice through sex indulgence. Brahmacharya is taught therefore from childhood when one has no knowledge of sex life. Children at the age of 5 are sent to the Gurukul or the place of spiritual master, and the master trains the yoga boys, young boys, in the strict discipline of becoming brahmacharis. Without such practice, no one can make advancement in any yoga, whether it be dhyan, Gyan or bhakti. One who, however, follows the rules and regulations of married life, having a sexual relationship only with his wife, and that also under regulation, is also called a brahmachari. Such a restrained householder brahmachari may be accepted in bhakti school, but the Gyan and the Dhyana school do not even admit householder brahmacharis. They require complete abstinence without compromise. In the Bhakti school, a householder brahmachari is allowed controlled sex life because the cult of Bhakti Yoga is so powerful that one automatically loses the sexual attraction being engaged in the superior service of the Lord. In Bhagavad Gita, it is said, Vishaya vinivartante nirarasya dehina rasavarjam rasopyasya param drishtva nivartate. Whereas others are forced to restrain themselves from sense gratification, the devotee of the Lord automatically refrains because of a superior trust. Other than the devotee, no one has any information of that superior test. Because of thee, one cannot be fearless unless one is fully in Krishna consciousness. A conditioned soul is fearful due to his perverted memory, his forgetfulness of his eternal relationship with Krishna. The Bhagavatam 11.2.37 says, Ayam dvitiya vineshataha syad isat apetasya viparyayo smritihi. Krishna consciousness is the only basis for fearlessness. Therefore, perfect practice is possible for a person who is Krishna conscious. And since the ultimate goal of yoga practice is to see the Lord Krishna within, a Krishna conscious person is already the best of all the yogis. The principles of yoga system mentioned herein are different from those of a popular so-called yoga societies which only teach what? Asanas. Beautiful purpose, na? Very clear. Without abstaining from the sex life, one cannot practice yoga system. Any yoga, Dhyan yoga, Jnana yoga, not Bhakti Yoga. But a householder who restrains in a regulated way can practice. When one gets attracted by practice, can practice Bhakti Yoga. Only yoga allowed, not allowed, viable, feasible, right? By which one gets the attraction for Krishna, which helps one to get detached from the other attractions automatically. But in others, one has to control the sense life. One has to control the senses from start to become eligible. And then they have to leave everything and go. But for a Bhakti Yoga, Bhakti Yogi, either they leave or don't leave. Either they stay at home, married, unmarried, does not matter. Focus is what? Practice, meditate upon Krishna. If somebody is married, regulated, in regulation. And then by practicing Bhakti Yoga, when one achieves the higher taste, one abstains automatically of the lower pleasures of the life. युञ्जनेव सदात्मानं योगी नियतमानसः शान्तिं निर्वाण परमां मत्संस्थामाधिगच्छति. Thus practicing constant control of the body, mind and activities, the mystic transcendentalist, his mind regulated, attains to the kingdom of God or the abode of Krishna by the cessation of material existence. So the ultimate goal in practice yoga is now clearly explained. Yoga practice not meant for attaining any kind of material faculty. It is to enable the cessation of all material existence. One who seeks an improvement in the health or aspires after material perfection is no yogi according to Bhagavad Gita. Not a cessation of material existence entails one's entering into the void, which is the only a myth. There is no void anywhere within the creation of the Lord. Rather, the cessation of material existence enables one to enter into the spiritual sky, the abode of the Lord. The abode of the Lord is also clearly described in the Bhagavad Gita as a place where there is no need of the sun, the moon, or electricity. Na tad bhasete suryo na sashanko na pavaka. 15th chapter. All the planets in the spiritual kingdom are self-illuminated like the sun in the material sky. The kingdom of the God is everywhere, but the spiritual sky and the planets thereof are called Paramdhama of the superior abode. A consummate yogi who is perfect in understanding Lord Krishna, as is clearly stated herein by the Lord himself, Mat Chitta Mat Para Mat Sthanam, can attain the real peace and can ultimately reach his supreme abode, Krishna Lok, known as Golok Vrindavan. In Brahma Samhita, it is clearly stated, Golok eva nivasati akhilatma bhutaha. The Lord, although residing always in his abode called Golok, is all pervading Brahman and the localized Paramatma as well by the dint of his superior spiritual energies. No one can reach the spiritual sky or enter the Lord's eternal abode Golok Vrindavan without the proper understanding of Krishna and his plenary expansion Vishnu. Therefore, a person working in Krishna consciousness, the perfect yogi, because his mind is always absorbed in Krishna's activities. Savay mana Krishna padar vindayo. In the Vedas, also we learn tameva vidvati, viditvati, mrityum eti. One can overcome the path of the birth and death only by the understanding of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. In other words, perfection of the yoga system is attainment of the freedom from the material existence and not some magical jugglery or gymnastic feats to befool the innocent people. Nasti ashnatastu yogo asti. Nati ashnatastu yogo asti. Nachaikantam anakshnataha. Nachati swapnashilasya. Jagrato naiva charjuna. There is no possibility of one's becoming a yogi or Arjuna. If one eats too much or eats too little, sleeps too much or does not sleep enough. So, verse is very clear. One has to be regulated in his eating and sleeping. Not eat too much, not eat too little. So, not eating too much means eating whatever is recommended. So, killing is not allowed. Unnecessary harming or violence to the living entity is not allowed. One should eat whatever is recommended by offering to Krishna. Similarly, sleeping, not sleeping at all or sleeping too much is also not recommended. 6 hours of sleep, Prabhupada mentioned, is enough. If somebody sleeps more than that, eats more, then if somebody eats more, then will sleep more. If somebody will sleep more, then how will one practice? That's what Prabhupada mentions. युक्तार विरार्यस्य युक्तचेतस कर्मसु युक्तस्वप्नावबोधस्य योगो भवति दुःखः. He who is regulated in his habit of eating, sleeping, recreation and the work can mitigate all material pains by practicing the yoga system. Extravagance in the matter of eating, sleeping, depending and mating, which are demands of the body, can block advancement in the practice of yoga. As far as eating is concerned, it can be regulated only when one is to take and accept prasadam, sanctified food. Lord Krishna is offered according to the Bhagavad Gita, vegetables, flowers, fruits, grains, milk, etc. In this way, a person in Krishna consciousness become automatically trained not to accept food not meant for the human consumption or not in the category of goodness. As far as sleeping is concerned, a Krishna conscious person is always alert in the discharge of his duties in Krishna consciousness, and therefore any unnecessary time spent sleeping is considered a great loss. Avyartha kalatvam, a Krishna conscious person cannot bear to pass a minute of his life without being engaged in the service of the Lord. Therefore, his sleeping is kept to minimum. His ideal in this respect is Srila Rupa Goswami, who was always engaged in the service of the Krishna and who could not sleep more than 2 hours a day, and sometimes not even that. Thakur Haridas would not even accept prasadam nor even sleep for a moment without finishing his daily routine of chanting with his beads 300,000 names. As far as work is concerned, a Krishna conscious person does not do anything which is not connected with Krishna's interest, and thus his work is always regulated and is untainted by sense gratification. Since there is no question of sense gratification, there is no material leisure for the person in Krishna consciousness. And because he is regulated in all his work, speech, sleep, wakefulness, and all other bodily activities, there is no material misery for him. Jai Shri Prabhupada ki Jai. So this chapter has 47 verses. I decided to cover 17 verses. Exactly, we covered 17 verses. Remaining 30 verses, of which 15 I thought to cover next time. 15 on the last session, as we have 3 sessions about it. But now that 15 chapters not completed, I'll try to finish, not try, we'll finish 15 chapter next time. And also some of the verses from 6th chapter. And then next week, 6th chapter complete. For exams, you can take your exam at your day, your choice. Whichever chapter you want to take, 3rd, 4th, 5th, multiple choice question. You don't have to write anything, select. Online you select, the result will be given immediately. Right?
Only one.
One chapter, one exam. Or you want all chapter together, that is also good. If you want one chapter at a time, I'll send you the paper one at a time. You want all chapters. Right? So be prepared. Chapter by chapter, all chapters, whenever you want to take. Call me, I'll send you the paper. Take it. Just select whichever choice you find appropriate. Simple paper.
The chapter can be selected.
Any you want to select any.
First, second, third. First, second.
If you want to give first, second, tell me, I'll give you that also.
First, second. I don't know. It's your choice. Suppose if I want to do
All of you have given the first chapter and second.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes,
Dandavat Pranam, Prabhuji.
Dhanvat Prabhuji.
Prabhuji, I have missed the first exam. Can I give it?
Yeah, you can give first exam at the end, or you take first exam first. Up to you.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. I just missed
Yes.
the first part. You were giving information about the exam of this third and fourth chapter. Can you repeat it, please?
Yeah, you can take third, fourth, fifth exam anytime you want.
Fifth chapter also.
Fifth also.
Okay.
Multiple choice question for all the chapters.
Okay.
Oh no, open. है ना? Multiple choice no, simple multiple choice.
But you will not be there when you will be doing like that.
Paramatma will be there. है ना?
You will send this WhatsApp.
WhatsApp?
We have to do it back in some time.
Huh?
Once you give it, you have to return the paper in half an hour or something.
No, online. No, I'll get the score. Google form.
Multiple choice.
After which date will you can opt for this?
You take any day you want.
You can ask.
Any day. Just you have to prepare. Be ready.
Prabhuji, will there be any collective test of 6 chapters anytime?
Yes, collective at the end. End of the 6 chapters, we have collective exam. I'll give you the question paper.
All open book exams.
You want question
Prabhuji?
paper? With many questions, and from that we'll ask you question. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Or you don't want
Yes.
question paper?
Prabhuji, please provide us question bank.
Okay, you want question bank? I'll provide question bank. From that only we'll ask.
All open book exams, Prabhuji?
No open book. If you want question bank, then no open book. If you do not want question bank, then open book. Question bank, okay. All are telling question bank, so we'll provide question bank. Study and then.
Tentative date for this exam.
Last, after completing the course, this date you've given exam back. I think after third week now. Any questions?
If you are traveling during that period, Prabhuji? If you are traveling during that period, is there a chance
then
to
we'll ask
take it on?
base admin what to do. What is the criteria? How to check? See, for me, I have no issues. As long as you can take up next day without taking any paper from here, there, I have no issues. First and second chapter we did like that. But then you have to see, because that's a major part of your exam. 80 marks based on that. Right? So I have to ask the admin what is the criteria. What if you are traveling for the final exam? The final exam date is fixed, na? Right? It's given now. Schedule was sent, na? When we are going to complete this course. Yeah, we are for 6 chapter, 3 classes. Right? We do the one class, next class, after that one class, and then there will be exam, final exam. Yes.
In the last
No. This is the unit test. Yeah. Unit that exam question bank.
if you're taking that exam, then only practice multiple choice question.
No, this is the unit test. No, this will have. This will have any time.
Bhakti Shastri. We cannot escape exams.
The orange when you get me. Right side.
Last
जय श्रीमद् भगवद गीता की जय।
हरे कृष्णा प्रभु जी, दंडवत प्रणाम।
Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Prabhuji. Hare
धन्यवाद
Krishna.
प्रभु जी।
Thank you,
Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna.
कृष्ण प्रभु जी दंडवत प्रणाम।
हरे कृष्णा दंडवत प्रणाम।
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna.
हरे कृष्णा।
Hare
Hare Krishna.